Hi there, everyone. Welcome to another Inspired by You MindKite podcast. And as always, we're bringing these inspirational stories, and today is no different from any other. Joining me today is the wonderful Ashaba Faridah. She is the founder and CEO of Bambino Life Foundation. She's a TEDx speaker and she's a pilot. And that's really the story I want to dig deep on today. So if you like what you hear, you know what to do. Like, share, follow, download the app, subscribe on YouTube. You know how we do. Okay. Thank you very much, Ashaba, for joining us. I'm so glad that you could make it on the call today.
Thank you so much for having me here today.
No, you're absolutely welcome. So I heard a little bit about your story, and it basically truly inspired me, and I think it will inspire a lot of other people. So I had to have you on the MindKite podcast, and I was just wondering if we can shoot straight in. You're a pilot. Wow. That's a massive achievement for anyone. But, female pilots, we don't see many of them. And we certainly know there's not, many female pilots coming out of Africa. I was just wondering if you can talk us through that, that story and that journey, which I'm sure must be epic.
Thank you so much. Well, the journey is, a bit long, so I'll try to cut it and make it short. I am from Uganda, which is in East Africa. I was born in a humble background. I was raised by a single mother. And of course, due to my circumstances and the finances that we had, I never thought that at one point I would be a pilot because, first of all, I didn't think a country like Uganda trained pilots. So I always thought I would be an interior designer or a chef, one of the things that I'll be doing currently. But that is what I always thought. And I never thought even more that a lady could fly a plane, or had never seen any woman fly a plane. Even I myself had never sat in a plane before. So my dreams were always limited because I never thought that, I would be something as a pilot. And then after high school, I was taken into an academy, an aviation academy. I was supposed to do flight operations and management. So when I reached at this school and we had orientation time, we're going around the school to get us used to the school. We were down at the hangars, and then I see this plane. It came and it landed, and this lady walked out of the plane. And when I saw her, there was something so inspiring about seeing a woman come out of the plane. I was starstruck. I think that is the word I could say. And when I saw her, I knew that I wanted to be that. No matter what, I knew that my dreams, what I had wanted before was no longer relevant. So I'd shifted and started wanting to be a pilot because it took me seeing someone like me, a woman like me, a Ugandan like me flying that plane to realize that, I can also do the same thing. So after that, I went down the journey of, trying to look into scholarships because, like I said, I come from a family where it was not possible for my mother to afford all that money that is required for pilot training. So I think after like 2 years of trying, I was finally able to get my scholarship in piloting. And I currently have a commercial pilot license, finishing my multi-engine and IR rating. That is my story of how I became a pilot. And it's really, it's been a journey. And I would say we are not so many lady pilots in Uganda. We are counted by the fingertips, maybe 10 or maybe 15, but never more than 15, especially those who are already in the working field. So the women are very few, and you're looking at a country with over 44 million as a population. So that puts things into perspective. I know a world where there are not so many lady pilots, but in our country, there aren't as many. So this was something that I never could have dreamed of in a million years, but here I am. And yes, I'm thankful.
So it's so important that you seen something that inspired you, and from that you created, a vision, a sterling vision of what you wanted to become. So at that point, you still have a lot of obstacles to overcome. And what was your, once you have that vision and that burning sort of desire to become a pilot, what then was your next step? You know, what if someone was watching this just now, especially a female, because it's very small in the industry that, you know, there's not many female pilots. What would the advice be that you would give them to make that next step?
First of all, I would say you still have, before you reach the physical obstacles, there is the mental obstacles, whereby, you know, there are not so many lady pilots out there, and you're not believing in yourself, especially if you come from a society where, you know, piloting is mainly a male-dominated world and very few lady pilots. You're going to have people telling you that you cannot do it. You're going to have people believing that women are weaker and they may not be able to do what men do. Even up to now, you're going to find people who believe that, you know, a woman should be in the kitchen and not, you know, in the cockpit. So there is that. So you have that mental obstacle of you have to truly want it. If you want it and you believe in yourself, no matter the circumstances that are going to happen, you're always going to keep through and push for that. So that is what happened for me. I knew I wanted it and I wanted it so badly, but I did not have the finances in that particular time. So I went down on the journey of searching for scholarships around, scholarships abroad, scholarships within my country, trying as much as I can, because I really, really wanted to be that, until I was able to come upon a chance that allowed me to get the scholarship that I was able to get at a later stage. So I would say believing in yourself. If you believe in yourself, all these other things, the obstacles, you're always going to remember what you're trying to achieve, and they're not going to stand in your way, because you have a goal that you're looking at. You have something that you want to achieve at the end of the line. So no matter what comes in between, of course, you're going to find problems like, you know, like I said, it's usually there is gender-based problems where, you know, women are looked down on. They don't think they can do the same things as guys can do. The opportunities may not be as many for the ladies, because some companies think, you know, she's going to come, she'll be pregnant, then that is time off. There are so many things around gender. But like I said, if you know what you want and you truly, truly want it, you'll not let anything else stand in your way. You push through until you get what you want.
Yeah, so there's so many beautiful elements you spoke about there, and perseverance. Every person that's achieved a goal or been successful, the one word that comes up all the time is perseverance. If you want it bad enough, you will overcome every single obstacle, which it sounds like you did. So with you talking about gender and, you know, the way some companies view things, how, when you decided to become a pilot, what was the reactions of like your friends and your family? What did they say? Were they supportive, or did they have a different view?
Well, I would say that I'm the first pilot in my family, going back to ancestors and all of that. So I'm the first pilot, both from my mother's side and from my father's side. So that is something, because I grew up with a mother, and I think she's actually not. I know she's a strong woman. She has never been the kind of person to, you know, stand in my way if I really wanted something, and she always believed in me. Of course, she was a bit scared of, you know, she can't allow me to tell her stories about my flying, because she's always worried, you know, something bad is going to happen, you're going to crash and all of that. But when we were at school, the people were surrounding us, like sometimes our colleagues, you know, the guy colleagues, you'd find, you know, them still not believing that you deserve, you know, the chair on the table of being a pilot, because they would see themselves as better, and they always see women as weaker, or, you know, they would think instructors are going easy on you because you are a woman, or they would think maybe you're sleeping with someone because you are a woman. But all they'll try to attribute anything else but you being smart as them. So you have those, but I've always known that piloting is a practical thing. You know, you're either good at it or you're not. And that is what speaks for you. Your actions have to speak for you. So I try not to beat myself up with what people think, what society is going to think. I just try to prove myself through my actions. And if I'm really good, I believe at the end of the day, my actions will always speak for me.
Yeah, and I think that's a big point. When you get to that point, you have the things that you want, you know, you've achieved the career you want, then you have to prove yourself, you know, you have to provide these results, you know, and it's more walking the walk than talking the talk, if that makes sense. So it's a fantastic achievement. It was a super good story to hear. And I think it's inspirational to, as I said, you know, women all around the world, but for anyone that has a dream, that has obstacles to overcome, to just persevere and block out the naysayers and the hate and any form of discrimination that you may face, you know, gender or race or anything like that. Let's talk a little bit about you're the founder of Bambino Life Foundation, the CEO there.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about that and what you do there.
Well, I'm the founder and the CEO. Bambino Life Foundation is an organization that promotes girl child education and empowerment. So what I wanted to use is that I wanted to use my platform as a pilot and to be able to inspire young girls in rural areas to also chase their dreams. But when we went on ground and trying to inspire these young girls to see that, you know, they do chase their dreams, we realized that most of the girls drop out of school before reaching that level of knowing what they want to be in the future. So we try to tackle some of the reasons as to why these girls drop out of school. By tackling those problems, we'll be able to ensure that these girls stay in school. When they do stay in school, then they have, you know, different options. They have big dreams of being something bigger. After all, as myself, I would speak from experience that I came from a background where I never thought that I would be a pilot. So I wanted to use my story and my personal experience, inspire young girls in rural areas and let them know I've been where you have been. I know what it means to come from a background where you do not have much, but this shouldn't stop you from dreaming. You can always be anything that you set in your minds to. So we went down on that road of trying to make sure that young girls stay in school through tackling problems like menstruation period, where girls lack basic necessities for menstruation health, and then, you know, early marriages and then early pregnancies in young girls. We try to tackle some of those problems by going on ground and training girls into different hands-on skills, like how to make reusable sanitary pads, how to make liquid soap, how to make mosquito repellent soap. This was in the bid to promote developmental sustainability. We believe that if you're able to teach someone a skill, they can always use it whenever to sustain themselves through difficult times. And communities shouldn't always rely on donations alone, because if the donations aren't there, then what? So that is what Bambino Life is basically about, promoting girl child education and empowerment.
Well, that's fantastic. So it even reinforces my point more that, you know, you have this inspiring story, but not only have you got an inspiring story, you're an inspiring person. So you've took what you've done in your life and now you're going back to help others. And you listed some, you know, some really, in the rest of the world, you know, we have solved a lot of these problems, and I see campaigns and I see advertisements for donations and to try and help aid these problems. So I think you're right, you know, donations isn't sustainable unless you have the donations all the time. So what you're doing is very commendable, to give the education and the means to maintain the education in youth. And how do you find that's going now? Are we going to have a next generation of pilots coming through?
Well, when I do go on ground, as much as I tell them about my piloting path, I also believe that there are so many professions that anyone can take. I mean, it's not only piloting that is male dominated. You have aeronautical engineers, you know, you have some science subjects and some, you know, mathematical professions and all of that are still dominated by the men. So when we do go on ground, I'm just trying to empower them so that, you know, they know that they have these options that are present to them, not only piloting. I want them to believe that they can achieve anything that they say their minds to, and these professions are open to them. If they believe in themselves, they can be able to do that. So not only piloting, I try to inspire them to go into other fields and just know that even if a field is male dominated, a woman can also do the same thing as a man does.
Yeah, so it's just giving them that power to make a decision and have a vision, no matter their gender or background. No, that's very, 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 very commendable. And I love what you're doing. I think it's a very, very worthwhile cause, and I'm glad you're making such an impact. And I see that you've been a TEDx speaker as well. So I know that's the TEDx platform and TED platform is massive around the world. Tell us a little bit about that and what your experience was there.
I did my TEDx talk in 2019, and my topic was I picked a topic of giving young girls relatable role models. This really stood for me because it is something that I have an experience in, and I believe that when you give young girls relatable role models they can look up to. For example, if I'm in Africa and then, or not to generalize because Africa is a continent, but generally, if I'm in some parts of Uganda and then I ask a girl, what do you want to be? And the girl says, maybe I want to be opera, like opera. Their backgrounds are a bit different, because as much as opera may have had the difficult time in the United States is different from the difficult time in Uganda. But if someone came from Uganda, a girl came from Uganda and defied odds to become something bigger, a young girl back at home can look at her and say, you know what? If she can do it, I can do it. Just like I looked at a lady pilot and I knew if she could be a pilot and she's Ugandan and she's a lady like me, I can also be a pilot. So giving young girls relatable role models, this may not only be in Africa, but in the world as general. And I was talking about even in Africa, when these ladies who go out and make their names, rather than always stay that side, it is great if they always come back home, come back to their society, come back to their schools, just in a while to inspire these young girls so that these young girls are able to look at them and know that she came from my country, she came from my society, she went to the same school as I did. If she can do this, I can definitely do this. So I was looking at giving young girls relatable role models. I think that is what we need currently as the world.
Yeah, and I think it's so important what you raised a point there about when you achieve a level of success or you get a career or you do well in any aspect and you leave the city or the town or the place you're from, is to remember the people that we leave behind. And did we leave the place better than we found it? Most of the time we don't. We leave, we get on with our life, and we kind of forget the background, when really it takes role models to go back and re-inspire and reignite and give faith and hope to people that we can get out of the situations. Glasgow, where I come from, is quite a bad city. It's not horrendous, but it's bad. And even then, I feel that we have to speak. I don't live there anymore, but I still feel I have to speak to people from Glasgow and let them know that we can do better. We can achieve more. And I think that's so important.
Yes.
So what else have you got coming up in the future, and what's your future look like? Because you're clearly a visionary. We know that you dream big and you do big. So what's in the future for yourself?
Currently, I'm trying to go back to school. I know it's weird, but before I became a pilot, I was always fascinated by interior designing. I always had love for that. And I feel like it is something, I feel like right now at the stage where I am at life, I want to do the things that I loved or the things that I love. So I've currently been looking into scholarships of interior designing. Of course, I'm looking at trying to stay away or maybe have a long time travel in another place that is not my country. I've always believed that traveling is very essential for everyone. It opens up your mind to different cultures, to different settings around the world, and you start seeing things in extremely different perspectives whenever you get a chance to travel. That is what has happened for me. Whenever you travel, you get to learn from other people, you get to learn from their cultures, you learn a lot, and it opens up your mind, and you go out your bubble. So I've been looking into that currently. I've been looking at different scholarships on interior designing, and if I'm lucky and I get one, that is something I'll be doing in the meantime on a slow level, because one of the things that we also learned during the COVID situation is that as an aviator or as someone in aviation, you always need a plan B. You always need to have something on the side, because I think aviation was hit the hardest. So many pilots were laid off, so many planes were grounded. And as a pilot, if you find that is the only skill you have, then it becomes very hard for you to integrate into the economy and do something else. So for me, I've always done something on the side besides my piloting. I love piloting, but I always feel like we all need to have a side B. I think for everyone. In COVID, we learned that you can't always look at one source, you know. You have to have at least two sources, because so many people lost their jobs, so many people lost so much money, and so many people are still stuck even up to now. So yeah, so I want to do something that I love. I love charity. I've been doing that. I'll never stop doing that. And that is why there is that foundation giving hope to many girls. But then I also want to now do something that I truly love, which is interior designing and decorations and all that. Yes.
I'm sure you'll achieve that, because you used a word there and you said, if I'm lucky, but you've not been lucky your whole life. You've been determined. You've made it happen. So I think the harder you work, the luckier you get. You know, if you put the time and effort in, and you'll achieve. And I can see with the smile and the passion you have for it, you'll probably go on to do, you know, as fantastic as you have done in the pilot world. And you're right, the whole world has kind of been affected with travel, with the pandemic and things like that. And I've seen all these pictures in the news of all these airplanes at the airports just grounded.
Yes.
It was eye-opening. You know, I've never seen that in my lifetime before. So I could only imagine what it feels like, you know, having a career as a pilot and travel being banned basically all around the world. So you're right. I think having those alternative career options, having a bit of foresight as well, that, you know, not everything is forever and things may change.
That is true.
Listen, thank you very much for your time today. I think your story is just fantastic, and I'm so glad you've come on the podcast to share your story. How can people, if they wanted to get in touch with you, or if they hear this and they're inspired by you, how can they find you and follow you?
Thank you so much again for this opportunity to share my story. I'm on all social media platforms under the same names, Ashaba Faridah, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And then also my email is ashabafarida57@gmail.com. So I think that is the best form of information that I have. But I also recently joined Clubhouse, still under the same name, Ashaba Faridah. And that is where you can find me, on all those platforms.
Absolutely brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Thank you very much again, Ashaba. So there you have it, people. With a bit of determination and hard work, you can also be a high flyer. Don't pay attention to those naysayers. Don't, you know, look through these obstacles. You can go over them. You can go around them. You can make your way in life. Well, if you like what you heard today, give Ashaba a follow. Make sure you've downloaded the app, subscribe on YouTube and all the usual podcast networks. Thank you very much for joining us today, and we'll see you again next time.